Afternoon, fellow legends. I'm Wilstuff, and I've been thinking about something lately. You know how with something popular, it gets re-released later on? Well, it got me thinking of how much opportunities I missed with my earlier videos.
In my review of Ghostbusters the video game on PSP, not only did I forget to add in any proton pack sound effects near the end, but there was also a short joke that was cut for, I don't know, efficiency.
Kind of wish I had a sentient painting to talk to, instead of that ghostly hobo back there.
I badly consider that to be a regular soil.
Oh, shut up, Spider Wizard.
No, how about you? You're anywhere an asshole.
And since we're on the topic, one review that I don't look back on as fondly anymore is when I uncovered the NES Classic and Super Nintendo Classic back in 2018 with Coolman. Now, I'm sure people love these videos, and more power to you, but looking back, it is kind of disappointing as it was originally going to be completely different to how it ended up being. I mean, hell, I didn't even wear my damn beanie in that video. That's how rushed it became. But as for the original version, it was also gonna have Deathsmith making a debut in live action, which would have been surprising. On top of having the three of us, me, Coolman, and Deathsmith, ranking each of the games, which was pretty new, I guess. But because I thought editing the video would be a pain in the ass, I didn't even bother making it. Hell, I mean, I even had 2 full-blown scripts, and yes, why 2, you ask? Because this video that I did in 2018 was originally going to be in 2 parts as more of a Christmas special.
Now with video games, special edition re-releases are often just the same thing but with more DLC or some collectible tack. But I thought it would be more interesting to compare special edition re-releases of a few movies. Now, in order to do this, I have to lay off some ground rules first. Rule 1. I will not be mentioning the Star Wars special editions. Why? Everyone and their mum has already talked shit about these in comparison to their original cuts, which I haven't seen yet because I grew up around the time the prequels did. Therefore, my only way to really watch them was with the special edition VHS releases. And another rule is that director's cuts, extended editions, whatever you name them, day 2 will not be mentioned. Because that's completely different to special editions. But anyways, let's get started.
First up is something a little more tame in comparison to later on, the Iron Giant Signature Edition Blu-rays. Now, I don't have these, instead, I'm just showing off the Special Edition DVD as an example. But basically, the Blu-ray is mostly the same movie, but with 2 more minutes of footage added in, done by a different animation studio, I believe, and they did a fucking awesome job remaking the style, the animation style from the original movie. Props to them. And on top of that, the box art on the Blu-ray just looks better. Not that this is terrible or anything, and I get that it's trying to capture that old 50s vibe that the movie itself did, but this logo on the DVD, it could be better. But other than the extra 2 minutes, the rest of the movie seems to be much the same, and I mean, come on, it's The Iron Giant. It's one of the best non-Disney animated movies out there. If you haven't seen it yet, pause this video and go watch it. It's great. Now onto a similar movie, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, though with this release, this one's a bit more infamous amongst the film community, as in 2002, this was re-released on its 20th anniversary with new effects added in, much like Star Wars. Except unlike Star Wars, however, which promised us in 95 that it would be the last time they would release the originals before the special editions, for the most part. With E.T., however, it didn't have as much dumb changes besides replacing the shotgun that one of the cops had with a bloody walkie-talkie. I mean, it's so dumb, even South Park made fun of that, which is funny. And to Spielberg's credit, however, he did go on to re-release the original theatrical cut, which I don't own, unfortunately. But hey, comparing these two releases is pretty interesting, to say the least. Closing. And then the final special edition re-release that I have to talk about is The Lion King, which is one of my favorite Disney movies that isn't from Pixar, at least. Because as good as Toy Story and Incredibles is, as far as the more classic Disney movies, this and Aladdin are great. As well as Treasure Planet, Emperor's New Groove, and so forth. But you get my point, don't you? The Lion King is classic beyond belief. Now, this was pretty much released, I think around the time it got re-released in theaters in 3D, in case the box art isn't blatant enough. But before that, I grew up with one of these bootleg DVDs, which had the 2003 version of the original, which, if you don't know, it was mostly the same movie, except it added, obviously, another Disney logo, and some effects I think were missing. But the biggest sin that the 2003 release had was The Morning Report, which was an awful 2-minute song. But speaking of Lion King, it's better than the piece of shit remake from Jon Favreau, which I could technically count as a special edition if I wanted to, because it's the exact same fucking movie, but awful! Well, aside from Timon and Pumbaa, they sometimes get a chuckle, but other than that, just stick to the original. Even the 2003 one, which at least has 2 minutes of your life you won't get back, rather than 2 hours that the Jon Favreau one does. And yes, there were other classic Disney movies that have had some rather minute changes alongside their 3D re-releases, like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, as well as Aladdin, which even before the 3D version did have a verse in the song Arabian Night cut off, because I guess the line, "they'll cut off your ear if you don't like your face," was a bit controversial. And even though I'm not a big fan of Disney censoring anything, especially with Disney Plus nowadays, I mean, to their credit with Arabian Night, I can see why it would have been a bit controversial. But yes, if I were to recommend any special editions, if any at all, it would be any of the 3D releases of Disney movies, even Pixar ones like Finding Nemo, which, again, very minor changes, as well as the Iron Giant Signature Collection, again, I don't know, Blu-ray. And you know what, maybe even the 20th, but you know what, I was gonna say E.T., but if you really want a different version of the same movie, I'd just say just buy any of them and just compare, see for yourself, I guess.
Well, that's me pretty much throwing my 2 cents into those special edition releases. And you know, there's something weirdly charming about them. It's like, even though it's still much the same as before, there's just still enough changes to make it either weird or just interesting in general. And, look at that. I have a lightsaber in my hand, and I somehow grew a scarf! What is going on anymore? I need some therapy.
Subscribe for more stuff. There's new and awesome stuff. And not the best.